Final voice referendum wording and constitutional amendment very close. The exact wording of the indigenous voice referendum question and constitutional amendment could be released as soon as Thursday morning, following a second consecutive night of meetings between the referendum working group and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to finalize changes to his original draft.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Finalize changes to his original draft. Professor Megan Davis, a key member of the advisory group of Indigenous leaders and co-chair of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, said the process was very close to completion and was still adamant the voice must have the power to talk to government, despite concerns raised by a small number of conservative critics. As the coalition agreed to back the government's proposed reforms to the Referendum Machinery Act, the No campaign in the referendum dialed up its rhetoric against the change. Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, a national senator, claimed the voice would segregate Indigenous Australians. Albanese, Attorney General Mark Dreyfus and Indigenous Australians Minister Linda Burney again met with the referendum working group on Wednesday night, after a smaller meeting on Tuesday. Before Wednesday's meeting, Thomas Mayo, another member of the working group, described recent negotiations as positive and continuing in good faith. "We're very close to reaching an outcome that will be the best possible outcome, that can politically helpful to a referendum passing while at the same time giving the voice that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people want," he told 24newsread.blogspot.com Australia. Multiple sources have told 24newsread.blogspot.com Australia there may be news on the referendum question and proposed alteration to the Constitution as early as Thursday morning. A special meeting of the federal cabinet has been called for Thursday morning, to officially approve the details agreed at Wednesday's meeting. 24newsread.blogspot.com Australia has been told there will be minor changes to the details outlined by Albanese at the Garma Festival last year, which participants believe will strengthen the amendment. Following Cabinet's approval, and the introduction of the Constitutional Alteration Bill, the reform will go to a parliamentary committee which will run for 6 weeks, before the government hopes to pass the bill in June ahead of a referendum expected in October. Details of the constitutional bill were previously expected to be unveiled next week. The offices of the Albanese, Dreyfus, and Burney were contacted for comment. Professor Davis said before the meeting that the group was putting the finishing touches on its advice to government. Among what she described as the group's key principles, was the imperative that the voice would advise Parliament and the government. The working group has long rubbished concerns raised by opponents that providing advice to the executive government would create the potential for court challenges if the public service or cabinet did not take the voice's advice. Working group members have been near unanimous in saying it was critical the voice could advise government. Members of the group say they are alive to political considerations around the referendum, and the need to settle on a form of words that can attract sufficient public support. Mayo said the recent flurry of direct talks with the government were an indication that a voice, that's listened to by government and respected, is going to make a huge difference. Davis noted other key design principles, including that the voice's membership would be chosen by First Nations people in local communities, that it would be representative and gender balanced, accountable and transparent, and have no veto or program delivery function. She also denied claims, advanced by Nampijinpa Price at a press conference, that the voice would be another layer of bureaucracy. Rather, a voice will hold the bureaucracy to account. It will reduce waste and make sure policies actually work, Davis said. Nampijinpa Price is leading an anti-voice campaign called Fair Australia backed by right-wing lobby group Advance. Fair Australia brought a delegation of Indigenous Australians to federal parliament on Wednesday, lobbying politicians to vote no. Melissa Carney, one of the members, told a press conference that many Indigenous people did not know what the voice was, criticized the government for not conducting more community engagement, and claimed it would lead to segregation. Nampijinpa Price, a senator for the Northern Territory, made similar criticisms. "We've overcome segregation in our country. To then go ahead and put it in our founding document, that is not the right thing to do," she said. Late on Wednesday, the Senate passed the referendum machinery changes. A deal between Labor and the coalition was struck. Amendments proposed by David Pocock and the Greens were opposed, including provisions to allow voter enrollment on referendum day and extend phone voting. The government has again confirmed there will be no public funding for the yes and no campaigns. However, one agreed amendment has confirmed the government can spend money on neutral public civics education and awareness activities as long as it doesn't go to the arguments for or against the referendum change. The Commonwealth will produce an official information pamphlet outlining the yes and no cases. A statement from Don Farrell and Linda Burney last night said, "Constitutional recognition through voice should be an issue that is above partisan politics, and we are encouraged by a broad consensus in support of this bill across the Parliament." And extend phone voting. The government has again confirmed there will be no public funding for the yes and no campaigns. However, one agreed amendment has confirmed the government can spend money on neutral public civics education and awareness activities as long as it doesn't go to the arguments for or against the referendum change. The Commonwealth will produce an official information pamphlet outlining the yes and no cases. A statement from Don Farrell and Linda Burney last night said, "Constitutional recognition through voice should be an issue that is above partisan politics, and we are encouraged by a broad consensus in support of this bill across the Parliament." We are encouraged by a broad consensus in support of this bill across the Parliament.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.